Zach's Know Your Options, a weekly overview of unique option strategies and ideas designed to help you beat the market no matter which direction it's going. This week we're talking about intrinsic and time value with Kevin Matras, our options expert here at Zacks.com. So these two things are probably among the most important when trading options.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, in my opinion, I believe that that understanding the difference between these two and understanding why they're so important, I really do believe that it can make the difference between making money and losing money when you're buying options.
All right. How does it relate to options?
Well, first off, everybody knows or should know what the word intrinsic means in everyday life, right? Real or innate or inherent or of within, right?
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, well, when you're doing options, it really means the same thing. The concept is the same, so check it out. Intrinsic value, the definition as it pertains to options, is the difference between the underlying stock price and the option's strike price that is in the money. That is the definition of intrinsic value. So, for example, if a stock was trading at $50 and a $45 call option with 30 days of time on it was selling for $6.50, that option would have $5 of intrinsic value. The example is a $50 stock price minus the $45 call option equals $5. So if the option premium is worth $6.50, that means $5 of that is intrinsic value. Now the other $1.50 of that is extrinsic value, which is also known as time value.
No, you're definitely going to have to define that one.
Well, if you're looking at extrinsic value is the amount of the premium that is not comprised of intrinsic value. So that is the part of the premium that is said to be your time value. Out of the money options are comprised of only time value. Now, using the same example as before, take that $6.50 premium minus the $5 intrinsic value, and that equals your $1.50 of extrinsic value. So the key to remember when you're doing options is that options are comprised of both things, intrinsic value and extrinsic value, which is also known as time value.
Well, that clears it all up for me, I tell you. But what does it mean to the investor?
Well, you know, that's a good question because in the beginning, for all practical purposes, nothing.
Oh, okay.
If you were to buy if you were to buy an option, let's say for $500, and let's say maybe a couple of weeks or even a couple of months later, that option is now at $800. At that point, you've just made $300, and it almost really doesn't matter whether or not your option is partly comprised of intrinsic value or whether it has zero intrinsic value because it went here and it went to here and you just made your money. However, though, at expiration, then it becomes extremely important because at expiration, your option's value is comprised exclusively of intrinsic value. So this is where it becomes the most important thing, and here's an example to illustrate this. If you had a $50 call option with 2 months of time on it, and the price of the underlying stock was at $45, that option might be worth $350 or $350. And at that point, the premium is comprised of only time value. But now, fast forward 2 months, if that stock is still at 45, that option is $5 out of the money, meaning it has no intrinsic value. And since it's now expiration, the time has run out, which means there's no time value, which also means that option is worthless. Now, if on the other hand, the stock was at $53 at expiration, now it's $3 above your strike price, right? All of the time value has disappeared, but it's now got $3 or $300 worth of intrinsic value, which means your option is worth $300 if you were to sell it. So this example shows that at expiration, your option is comprised or valued exclusively of intrinsic value, and that is why it is so, so important to understand that concept.
And that is why you like to buy in-the-money options?
Yeah, that's right. In the written article, I go into more detail about why it's so important. I give some additional examples, but I think it's always important to start off buying options with intrinsic value because that gives you a head start art, so to speak, and I believe it truly is the key difference to being successful when you're buying options.
All right. If it helps you to take a look at the text version of this article this week, just go to Zacks.com if you're not there already and scroll down the page until you get to the options section of that homepage, and then there's a live link there that will take you to this most informative piece. It's just more information that Kevin has prepared to help you know your options. And with Kevin Matras, I'm Terry Ruffalo.